Hey everyone. Yeah, you're probably always wondering, as you see the title of this video, why someone like myself, or anybody in my kind of area, or basically anybody like me, that even though we may not watch the show, even though we may not be huge fans, a lot of people pretty much always wonder, a lot of you are probably wondering, along with a lot of people I should say, why do we keep talking about it? I think there's several reasons. One, it's out of respect. Respect for the fact that this is a franchise that's been around for over 30 years. And only recently, in the past 5 years, 5 to 6 years, this franchise has found a foothold finally to where it is embraced by not just its targeted audience, but it's cross borders, cross genders, all sorts of media, to the point it doesn't matter what gender you are, how old you are, what you could be into besides MLP. It's the fact that this portion of the franchise, this new generation, has created such a buzz that everybody wants a piece of it. Now, everybody wants a part of it. Everybody wants to watch it and support it. Everybody does CGI animations, fan art animations, or fan animations, and CGI, good CGI. Some do it in traditional animation. Some just do little sketches, little comics. Everybody wants a piece of that action. And the question is why? Again, for anybody that grew up with the original franchise back when it came out like I did, they come to realize that this is a franchise that, like I just said, found its foothold finally, has found the right people to create it, write the stories, has found the right people to voice the characters, and so on and so forth. To the point now that in 2017, this take on the franchise, excuse me, this take on the franchise is going to be the focal point for a movie distributed by Lionsgate in a little over a year and a half. And that's saying something. That is truly saying something. But when I come out and I talk about this, sometimes I either show what I've gotten, either through Amazon or wherever, or I talk about what I believe could happen. Now, I've come out here many times and I've talked about how I think the MLP movie could go and how it could impact the series. How it could impact the series down the line. And it could. It could really impact the series, whatever they come up with for the movie. The movie itself can even act as a finale to the series. It could. And there's many ways to look at it that way. But the movie is not the only thing that could impact the series. As a lot of fans that have probably watched the show for the past 5 years, and past 5 seasons, will note, the series itself, along with its premieres and its finales, are always the ones that truly impact in the end. Something always changes in those premieres or those finales. They get carried on throughout the season or the next season. And that is saying something. Again, like I said, it gets carried from either throughout the season or into the next season. And that's saying something. It really is. So, when one looks at it that way, one has to be always wondering, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. I'm sure there's other people like myself that, as I mentioned, don't watch the show that much, but have respect for the fact that it's found its foothold, has respect for the fact that you have a fan base that has crossed all genders in media, to the point, again, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, what gender you are. If you like the franchise, if you're a fan of it, then go ahead and embrace it. Enjoy it even more. Help make it what you feel it could be. But, again, there are those like myself that have that respect. And we do collect. Like I mentioned in several videos before, we collect out of nostalgia reasons. Because we grew up on the franchise, and yes, as I mentioned earlier, maybe part of us do want to have a piece of that pie, that figurative pie that I'm talking about. We want a piece of this phenomenon that's going on, even though we may not watch the series. And we may not be as big of fans as everybody else is. With all due respect. No disrespect, with all due respect. But, with that said, one of the things that whether you're a fan and of the show in the biggest of ways, and you're constantly watching the episodes every day, DVRing them, buying the seasons on DVD and Blu-ray, whatever, buying the spin-offs, the Equestria Girls, which I believe shouldn't really be around, but still, it's part of the franchise. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Even though people like me may not be like that, what makes us intrigued by this show, again, is what concepts they come up with, especially, as I mentioned, when it comes to the premieres or the finales for seasons. Because sometimes when some of us that don't watch the show religiously, or don't watch the show constantly or daily, or keep up with it, then one of the ways we keep up with it is through the internet. It's kind of like with me and the Nickelodeon TMNT. I'm not a fan of it that much. I don't watch it. I haven't really watched it since it came out. I only keep tabs on it because of my nephew and from what I read from other fans. And of course watching Andrea Black Nerd Comedy's episode reviews of the series. And that's the best way I, and probably others like me, keep up with it. And yes, just like MLP, I do collect the figures. Why? Well, one, I know they could keep the kids busy if they get bored playing Disney Infinity. But two, it's out of nostalgia reasons because I grew up on the franchise. But getting back to what I'm saying, even though we may not watch it as much as a lot of other people, fans like myself, people like myself get intrigued exactly after what we read online of exactly what could be, or what they got planned for the premiere, what they got planned for a finale. And it always intrigues us of how they're going to get to that point. But then it always raises the question of what do they have planned next? Where do they plan to go from here? Where do they plan to go from there? And it suddenly dawns on me that, these are questions that not only us, the intrigued fans, always have, but it's also questions that the fans that watch the series daily, weekly, every weekend, DVR it, buy the sets and all that, it's questions that they have. So I'm going to try to answer these questions, and I apologize if I'm rambling a little much. Basically, what time is it? Where am I? Almost 10 minutes in, so I do apologize. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. Every time they've had a finale, whether it's been 2 parts, 3 parts, 1 part, doesn't matter. It's always had some kind of impact, like I mentioned earlier, that goes throughout that season or gets picked up into the following season. I know, along with others, that Twilight moved into another castle, along with her friends. I guess she did. I guess they all did. And then they explored this village and what have you. so on and so forth. So we knew that got impacted not only at the end of last year, but into the beginning of this year. So the question is, what do the writers have planned for the finale of Season 5? And most importantly, what do they have planned for the premiere of Season 6? Because you see, Season 6 is going to be the most important one, because that is going to be the season, that's going to possibly be the season that builds us up towards the movie. Like whatever takes place in that season is going to get referenced or reflected back on in the movie. We pretty much know that. But what do the writers have planned? And that's the one thing I will give the writers of this show credit for. They at least allow us to speculate. Just like those that, watch the Nickelodeon TMNT series. They always wonder the same thing. They really do. Heck, when I was a kid, and I would watch shows, we'd always speculate what the next episode was going to be like. Or if it was in multi-parts, what was going to happen in the next part. We always wondered. Even though it was going to be the next day, we always kept being curious of, oh, what are they going to do? Oh, I bet they do this. Oh, I bet they do that. We always speculated and wondered. And when Sonic Sat AM Season 2 came to an end, we speculated whether or not what the third season was going to be like. Especially after that cliffhanger. But when one takes a look at MLP FIM, the writers do a spectacular job of making you wonder that almost from the very beginning. So here's what I figured could happen. And I do apologize if this video is running long. But here's what I feel could happen. I believe, in my honest opinion, and I mentioned this in a question. On Facebook. Because yes, I am a member, and again, it's out of respect and intrigue. I am a member of Friendship is Fanbase and Friendship is Magic Facebook groups. So, anyway, I asked this question. And true, I've got some replies that weren't too favorable, and maybe one that kind of did understand that it's possible. But the question I asked was, who thinks that the main six will fusion, if you will, merge into one in either a season premiere, in a future season premiere, or finale? Who do you think? Basically, I asked the question of who thinks that will happen. And I said, after I answered that question, I said, I do, because after everything that I've read about with all these premieres and finales that have affected, either it's a premiere, have affected and been felt throughout the season, or a finale that's been carried on to the next season, this show has done a lot of things fans would speculate on happening and have, and speculating on what they don't think would happen, and it did because they didn't think they would do it. So the question is, will the writers of the show go and do that? Will the finale of Season 5, the premiere of Season 6, or even for that matter, maybe the movie, involve, as one person commented on my question, possibly temporarily, the characters fusing together into one? Because think about it this way. We know at the end of one episode, in the two-part finale, where Twilight was battling that one villain, Luna, Celestia, and Candace transferred all their power to Twilight. They did. They transferred it all to her, from what I've read and understood, and even saw glimpses of. So if they could transfer their power to her, to me, that opens the door. That opens the door for the fact that something like a fusion could happen. Heck, when you give all the main six rainbow powers during one of these finales, it opens that door. So to me, I believe, in my honest opinion, even though I'm not an avid watcher, and even though I have respect for where the fans are taking this franchise, and the fact that it's found its foothold that it's needed, as someone that's intrigued by how the series has survived for as long as it has, and out of respect for that, I look at the fact that there is a strong possibility that we will see a fusion, if temporary, in either a season finale, whether it be this year, this season, or in a season premiere, which is either the next season, or even the movie, or even the finale for the following season. Now I know some of you some of you fans, some of you true blue fans, if you will probably come out and say that's not really going to happen, but we wouldn't put it past them. And that's right, it may not happen, but as you would probably answer, you wouldn't put it past them. Because think about it this way. Every season finale or every season premiere has had a more powerful villain or threat coming in. So what better way to deal with that villain or threat than to finally do a fusion? Now, from what I understand, there's a villainess coming in, from what I've read and from what people have talked about, coming in for the season 5 finale. Will that cause the fusion to happen? Maybe not. But who's to say we won't see it in season 6 premiere or season 6 finale? And who's to say we won't see it in the movie? All I know is the possibility is there. Because again, they have done so much with these characters so far that by giving them more powers, making them more powerful, kind of upgrading them, especially Twilight, that sooner or later they're going to have to go in this direction. It's going to happen. And I think anybody watching this video knows that to be a fact. I think any of you watching this video right now knows that's a fact. Because how can you not deny the fact that it's not going to happen, or it is going to happen? Because guess what? It is going to happen, in my opinion. And again, this is coming from somebody that doesn't watch the episode, doesn't watch the show on a regular basis. Sure, I have the show and all the seasons up to date on my Netflix queue, just in case I want to watch it out of curiosity, because there are some funny moments. I'm not going to deny that. There are some funny moments in the episodes. There are some intriguing concepts. Heck, last year I recorded and watched the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Halloween episode. I have the Christmas episode, all on DVD because of my traditional holiday movies and specials DVD sets. But I watched it and I got a kick out of it. Again, to me, there's a lot of things that are going. There's just a lot of things in play right now that have been shown, that have yet to be seen, that makes me, even as someone that doesn't watch the show that much, just as an overall fan of animation, of cartoons themselves, makes me believe, in my opinion, that the writers of MLP are going to do it. They're going to do that. I mean, you don't think they didn't see that little webcomic a fan did on DeviantArt, where you had not Candace, but you had Celestia and Luna merged together into one? You don't think they didn't see that? They did. I mean, why do you think a lot of fan characters suddenly show up out of nowhere just for cameos in an episode? It's because these writers, this creative staff, acknowledges the fan base is the strong point of the series. So you don't tell me they didn't see that, because they have. Which tells me that if they see stuff like that,